What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters. Welcome to No Life Till Metal. Going to be doing a same album, different cover thing here. Back in December, I pulled out an album from Lita Ford and realized that I had two different covers on it, and it just kind of struck me, maybe I should look what other ones I have. And I had quite a few. Matter of fact, I had so many I had to stop because this video is going to be long as it is just from the amount of stuff I pulled. So I'm going to get right into it. So same album, different covers. So some of these are different. Well, we'll just get into it as I go. First of all, Lita Ford. This is the album that I pulled out. And I realized that this is the original cover. This is the album that I bought back when I was in high school as a new release. But when I first picked up this album, I picked up this version of it, which is the alternate cover. Both are kind of cool. Lita looks great in both. I really don't know if, I think this one was like considered offensive or too violent because, you know, she's got a bloody guitar that's spewing blood and, you know, whatever. But again, back covers are identical, but the front covers are different. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing in this whole series, just showing albums that have alternate covers. There's different reasons for alternate covers. It's not always because it was, you know, something offensive or somebody complained, or some of it is, some of it isn't. Some of them just different countries had different ones or re-released with different covers. So here's a few CDs I'm going to get into. This is the very first Iced Earth album. This is an original pressing on Century Media Records, original CD pressing from, what was it, 1991. And then this was an original pressing, European pressing, with an alternate cover. What's the difference? I really don't know. I don't know why they changed it. Back covers are similar but different. Just two different covers for the same album. A few more CDs I'm going to show here. Now this one was pulled because somebody thought it was offensive. This is Aerosmith 9 Lives from 1997, I believe it was, 98, somewhere in that area. And I don't know what the religious group was. I think it's some Hindu thing. Was offended by this, so they changed it to this. So this is a more popular, more known cover. I actually think this cover here is actually a better cover than this one anyhow. And this one has been released on vinyl as well, which I do have. I just didn't have a vinyl of this, so might as well just show the two CDs. Next band, death metal band from Australia. This is Mortification. So this is cover number 1. This was the cover that Intense Records and Frontline Music released to the general public, just in regular, you know, music record stores, whatnot. But in the Christian bookstores, the Christian music stores, it was this cover. Apparently, this one here with, you know, souls being sent into a lake of fire was offensive, which is very odd considering, you know, that's based out of the very Bible that those Christian bookstores sell. But regardless, two different covers, so both drawn by drummer Jason Sherlock. Both cool. I mean, it's just a logo, but I thought it was a cool logo back when it came out in 1991, I think it was. And then there's the other one. This one has been re-released on vinyl as well. Several times, but they all have the same cover on it. Sticking with the Mortification, I actually should have grabbed. This one actually is sort of the original cover, the US cover. This is actually an updated version of it. I actually should have grabbed the CD because the CD is slightly different from this one, but only slightly different. Same basic design. I guess when they put this out on vinyl a few years ago, Jason Sherlock, drummer from Mortification, redid the cover art for Sound Mass. So this is very similar to the original cover, and then this is the original European cover that was on Nuclear Blast. So Intense Records USA is here, and then this is the Nuclear Blast Germany cover. I like them both. They're both different, but they're both cool. Back covers are not even anywhere similar. So yeah, basically there's two different covers. Although, like I said, this one here is actually an updated version of the original. This one I don't have both vinyl versions of, but I do have a CD pressing. So this is the French Axe Killer version of the very first Dark Angel album. We have arrived, and I don't know. I've heard different stories about this one, but as far as I know, this is the first pressing. So the way I understood it was the band's licensed the album to Axe Killer, and they put this version out. And then the band used the money from that to put out their own version in the USA with a cover that was very similar to this. This is a CD pressing that I've had, I don't know, probably 30 years. I've had the CD pressing forever. So yeah, two different covers, same album, Dark Angels, same mix, same, I assume the same mastering, everything. We Have Arrived by Dark Angel, the LA Caffeine Machine, as they were known back in the day. All right. This album has actually had several different covers. I believe this is the first cover, but this is the very first album from Fates Warning, Night on Brocken. Another cover you see quite often on this one. So there's two different covers here, Fates Warning. I don't think it was anything to do with anybody being offended by anything or censoring or any of that kind of thing. I don't know, I assumed that the label or the band or somebody didn't like this cover, so they went with this cover. And then a third cover was done, which I don't have. I had it for a while, but I just didn't need that many versions of the first Fates Warning album. On a CD, they had just a picture of a moon in the middle of the cover. That was the third cover for this album, Fates Warning, Night on Brocken. This is great, straightforward heavy metal in the vein of like early Iron Maiden. So, this next one's odd. I've actually seen a few covers on this one, but this is Blind Faith. You know, of course, Ginger Baker, Steve Winwood, Eric Clapton, whatnot. This one has this interesting insert that somebody hand did. I think that's cool. This particular copy came from Germany. A friend of mine in Germany picked it up for me. But yeah, you can see this thing's kind of old and brittle, but I still think it's cool, so I keep it in there. I've also seen the back cover as the front cover for this one. Obviously, this front cover is going to be somewhat offensive. It's a young, probably 12, 13, 14-year-old girl not wearing a shirt. So this has come out as an edited or censored version, as well as I've only seen this cover once, which I have it. Again, this copy came from a friend of mine in Germany. This is a German pressing, but whoever this company is that's putting this, whoever put this out, what was the company here? Carousel Gold Series. But you can see there's like a bunch of different albums on here. You can see alternate covers for a bunch of other albums. Jimi Hendrix, Voodoo Child, Eric Burden, Madman. But I kind of like the cover. It kind of has that, 3D look. But this one's interesting because it's not really different covers. It's alternate covers of the same album that came out at the same time. And again, I could have done a lot of those too. King's X, Dogman comes to mind. But Genesis, Abacab. So there was 4 different pressings of this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the only difference really is the colors. It's the same design, just alternate colors. And if you look on the spines of these things, you can see each of them is labeled A, B, C, and D. Also, all the covers on this particular ones are embossed. So you can feel the embossed on these things, except for I have one version here, which is one of these. I can't remember which one it is. Yeah, I don't know. One of them is a Canadian pressing, and it's slightly different than the others, but still, alternate cover, same album. Just one of my favorite bands. So I didn't pay a lot for these, and I picked them up over a long period of time, and I've just had them forever now. But Genesis, Abacab, lots of alternate versions of the same cover on the same album. All right, shuffle this a little bit. All right, next up, this is one of Ted Nugent's last albums with the Amboy Dukes. This is Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes. Ted, had become the alpha male, and the Amboy Dukes was basically, he was still using the name, but it had already become the Ted Nugent Show. So this is a live album, basically just a big old long jam. Most of the songs on here weren't even on past albums, except for, I think, Prodigal Man was the only one. Very cool album. I've seen this thing released in many different covers. Here's an alternate cover that's very similar, but alternate. It doesn't even have the Amboy Dukes on there, it just says Ted Nugent. Here is a French pressing, I believe. The same album, Gigantes del Pop, which was a whole series that they released with a very similar top to here, and different photos here would be used. But it's the same album, just different cover. And this one here with the brilliance in packaging. This is, I think this one's from Spain. Yeah, Madrid, Spain. So Historia de la Musica Rock. Again, another series, but the same album, and basically they would have this same album cover with different photos in here and obviously different album titles here. But it's the same album, and they took a picture of Ted Nugent from, looks like around 1982 or so, and put it on the album from, what, 1970, I don't know, I think this was 1971, so 1970, 71, but anyhow, they were capitalizing on Nugent's popularity at the time and putting out one of his old albums. So an alternate cover. Alright. This was kind of cool. These guys have had lots of different multiple covers for albums, but early Scorpions, this is Lonesome Crow. This is the cover you see most often, but in the 80s, again, capitalizing on their popularity, Rodney Matthews was hired to redo the cover, and he did this cover, which I love Rodney Matthews' work, so I think it's a great cover. I have this on a picture disc as well. So again, same album, just two different covers. You know, this one's okay, I guess. I definitely like this one better. I love Rodney Matthews' artwork. So this one copy is a German pressing on Brain. So featuring Michael Schenker of UFO. That's actually printed on there. So sticking with the Scorpions, this is. I need to shuffle because these are starting to fall. There we go. Alright, so this is, I believe, the original. This is actually a repressing, but this is the original German cover for this album. Don't know why in the USA it was given a different cover, but the USA's cover was this. Now, I don't know that it was. I mean, I know you know why on a lot of Scorpions covers, because there was nudity, or Virgin Killer was, you know, a prepubescent girl with a crack over her crotch. I mean, that was just tasteless and offensive. So you can kind of understand why that was changed. But this one here, I don't really understand why. But regardless, this is a cover you see most often in the United States anyhow. Cool picture of the band, great picture of Ulrich Roth when he was still going by Ulrich Roth instead of Uli John Roth. Alright, next we've got another German band, but this is not Scorpion, this is a German prog band. And again, this is the original cover from 1978, I believe this was, somewhere in that area. But Eloy, this is Planets. And this is the alternate cover that was done in the mid-80s. Again, this is on Heavy Metal Records. And again, this is Rodney Matthews. And again, I love Rodney Matthews' work, so I really like this cover. At least I think it's Rodney Matthews. It looks like his work. I should have looked that up for sure. Sleeve design by Rodney Matthews. Good thing I wasn't wrong. But anyhow, again, same album, different cover. Eloy, Planets, fantastic prog rock from Germany. Let's see here. I need to shuffle again here. Got quite a few more to go. Alright, this is one that most people are going to recognize. This is Judas Priest Rock Roll original cover. This one's been released on multiple different labels, multiple different times. Originally released on Dole Records back in, 1972. And this was a very popular cover for that album in the 80s. Capitalizing again on their popularity in the 80s, they got rid of this cover. I've always kind of liked this cover. I still like this cover, and they replaced it with something that looks very much that would fit right along in with Screaming for Vengeance and those sort of covers. Like it or not, that's what they did. They were capitalizing on Priest's popularity and re-released the album, and it works. Again, two different covers, and I think there's more than one cover for this album too. But again, this is the original cover, and this is the one I actually prefer. Alright, where are we at here? Okay, this is a little bit unusual in that it's not, well, I'll just show it, but, so here's the very, very well-known AC/DC High Voltage album. This is the USA pressing. This album is actually, this is a little different than the other ones, because this is actually a compilation that came out a couple years after the original releases in Europe. So that album is actually, this is also called High Voltage, so it is a different cover, but it's also not the same exact album. There's different songs on it. So you've got two different covers, this is TNT, and these two albums were basically combined to make this album in the USA. And this album's cover is pretty standard. You see it everywhere. I think this is, even the copy that ended up being released in Europe and whatnot. And this is the original Australian covers for those two albums. But I actually do see this cover quite often as well. So, and both these have been pressed to CD with these covers and with track listing. So this is a very similar situation here, in that we have two different versions, two slightly different covers. Now these aren't very different, but you can see there is a difference in the logos and in the layout. This one is a USA pressing, which is this is the USA pressing, and this is the UK pressing. Now again, this is a combination of two. The USA pressing is a combination of two different albums, and I should have grabbed the other album. What's it called? Fanny. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyhow, those two albums were combined to make Desolation Boulevard in the USA, but in the UK, this was the cover, and again, it had a different track listing. Same album, same name, slightly different covers, but again, slightly different track listings on those two. So a little different than the other ones I've shown, which have the same exact track listings, just different album covers. Alright, Aerosmith. This is their first album. This album, I remember when I was collecting records in the 70s and 80s, this cover was very popular everywhere. I mean, anywhere you went to look for this album, new or used, this is what showed up. To find this one was very unusual. This was the original cover. The original pressing even had the song Walking the Dog, which this one does. Walking the Dig. So it's two different pressings of the same album, and you can see it's got the same photo of the band. I guess back in the day, I remember reading some old reviews that where people were saying this cover didn't match the music because the music was, this is early 70s, so the music was considered heavy metal back then, and this looked more like some kind of prog or ethereal kind of thing, and that's not what it was at all. It was just straightforward heavy rock and roll, So that the album was changed to this, like it really made that big of a difference. But the other thing is it featured Dream On, because Dream On had become a hit by that time. So two different covers, same album. Aerosmith's first self-titled album. Now this album, I love both covers. I'm going to show the one that introduced me to the band. This is I was in high school when this came out, and this album just blew me away. Except Restless and Wild. This is the US pressing. I just love that cover. I mean, it's just a live shot, but it's such a cool shot of Udo strangling. I think that's who is it? That's Peter Baltes. Yeah, bass player, right? Yeah, Peter Baltes. So. Just a cool shot of a live shot of the band, and just a great album. But the UK version of the album, or the European version of the album, was this, which is equally as cool. The two burning Flying V guitars, just a great. And then the back set, burnt out. But yeah, just a great classic cover. Both of them are just fantastic. So this is a newer. So it's an old Motorhead album called Bastards, and this was a little bit weird because this album has come out multiple times, multiple reissues. I have a picture disc of the same cover on it, but for some reason a few years ago the album was re-released in the USA under the name Death or Glory. I don't know if the title Bastards was offensive to somebody and they were trying to make it less offensive. I mean, if someone's going to buy Motorhead, they're not going to be offended by the word Bastards. So, but it's the exact same album. It's just a different cover. And there's like a little biography on the back. But again, same album. I don't know why. I don't really care. I just thought it was cool. This might be... Yes, this is the last one for today. So, last one. This is Irish rock legend Gary Moore. This is Back in the Streets. This is the original pressing on MCA Records, and this is I believe this is a UK pressing, yeah, pressed in England, and then this is the US pressing of Back on the Streets. Again, same album. I think the track order might be a little different. No, they look like they're almost the same. So anyhow, two different albums, covers for the same album. I always loved the great live photo on the back with Gary Moore jamming with Philip Lynott there. Phil Lynott does some of the songwriting on here, some of the vocals, plays bass on here. So, I mean, essentially, you could call this almost a Thin Lizzy album. It's not a Thin Lizzy album, but, you know, it's got Gary Moore and Phil Lynott playing together, so it's just a great album, classic, and 2 different covers. So there you go. Kind of hoping some other people will do this, because I dig this, and I'd love to see some other people show, you know, alternate covers for things and explain maybe why they're the alternates or which one they like better. So appreciate y'all watching. Hope you enjoyed it. God bless. Stay strong.